two stories dropped this week that have the entire Browns fan base locked in. And I'm not going to waste your time with a slow build. Both of them matter. Both of them carry real consequences for the direction of this franchise. And by the time we're done here, you're going to have a clear picture of exactly what's at stake. The first one involved a wide receiver with a massive contract, a complicated injury history, and the kind of talent ceiling that makes you stop scrolling the moment you see his name connected to Cleveland. The second one, a respected NFL insider, just reignited a conversation that most Browns fans thought was finished. A conversation about the face of this franchise. And the question being asked around the league right now is one that nobody in Cleveland wanted to hear again. Let's get into it. Brandon Ayuk. That name alone is enough to get your attention. And it should be, because the version of Brandon Ayuk that showed up in 2023 was a legitimate problem for every defense he lined up against. Second team All-Pro. Career high 1,342 receiving yards. A receiver operating at the kind of level where coordinators have to build their entire game plan around accounting for him. That was the version of Ayuk the league was watching, and that was the version San Francisco signed to a 4-year, $120 million extension. And then Week 7 of the 2024 season happened, and everything got complicated. The knee injury changed the entire trajectory of this situation. Recovery time, PUP list, and then something that rarely gets better on its own, a fractured relationship between a player and his organization. Reports indicate the 49ers voided roughly $27 million in future guarantees tied to that contract. 3 years still remain on the deal, and any team acquiring Ayuk will be looking at a cap hit north of $26 million in 2026 unless a restructure gets done. That number is where a lot of teams pump the brakes. And it's also, interestingly enough, where Cleveland starts to look like a realistic landing spot. Because here's the thing. The Browns have been here before with Ayuk. This is not a new name in the Cleveland building. Reports indicate the organization explored interest in him before and were never able to get a deal completed. Now, with his trade value suppressed by injury concerns and a complicated financial situation, the door that was closed before may be opening again. NFL reporter Marcus D. Smith specifically named Cleveland as a team connected to Ayuk, pointing out that the Browns have had interest in the past and could be looking to add a weapon for whoever wins the quarterback competition this summer. And that framing matters because the upside here is enormous if you can get comfortable with the risk. A healthy Brandon Ayuk, fully healthy, back to 2023 form, does not just improve this offense. He transforms it. He becomes the kind of receiver that Shedeur Sanders can build a connection with going into his first real season as a starter. He becomes a chess piece that changes how defenses have to approach Cleveland entirely. And if the compensation is limited to a later round pick because San Francisco is motivated to move on and move the contract off their books, then the cost of acquiring that upside is remarkably low relative to what you're potentially getting. The risk is real. The injury history demands respect. The contract demands a serious conversation about restructuring before any deal gets done. But if this front office believes Ayuk can return to elite form, the calculus here is not as simple as just pointing at the price tag and walking away. Now let's get to the story that genuinely stopped people mid-scroll this week. Because Albert Breer, and this is not some random Twitter account, this is a respected, plugged-in NFL insider, said he would not rule out the possibility of the Cleveland Browns eventually trading Myles Garrett. Let that sit for a moment. Myles Garrett, reigning Defensive Player of the Year. The player who has been the unquestioned face of this franchise through coaching changes, losing seasons, quarterback chaos, and full roster overhauls. The same Myles Garrett who signed a massive extension that every fan in Cleveland assumed ended this conversation permanently. Apparently it did not. And here's what makes Breer's reasoning genuinely worth engaging with rather than just dismissing outright. He is not arguing that Garrett isn't worth keeping. He's arguing almost the opposite, that Garrett's value is so extraordinarily high right now that Cleveland could command a return that fundamentally reshapes the franchise's trajectory. His central point is about timelines. The Browns have invested heavily in young players through back-to-back draft classes. Shedeur Sanders, Spencer Fano, KC Concepcion. Draft capital being stockpiled and deployed with a clear vision of what this team is supposed to look like several years from now. Breer's question is whether Garrett's prime window genuinely aligns with the window those younger players are building toward, and whether Cleveland might accelerate the entire rebuild by moving Garrett while the market for elite pass rushers is as aggressive as it's ever been. Intellectually, you can follow the argument. Multiple premium draft picks and proven young players coming back for one of the most dominant defensive players in football. The return could be transformational. But here's where I land on it emotionally, and I don't think emotion is the wrong tool for this particular conversation. Players like Myles Garrett do not get replaced. You don't draft another one in the second round. You don't find him in free agency the following March. He is a generational talent, and the Browns have had exactly one of those in the modern era. The security that comes with knowing you have a player capable of wrecking games entirely by himself, on his own, regardless of what the rest of the roster looks like that week, is not something you can put a precise dollar value on. And the fact that he has survived everything Cleveland has put around him and remained dominant through all of it tells you something important about what he represents to this organization beyond the stat sheet. Andrew Berry committing that kind of contract money to Garrett is not a gesture. It's a statement of organizational philosophy. And I still have a hard time seeing that front office reverse course on it. But the fact that Breer is still having this conversation, the fact that respected voices around the league haven't fully closed the door on it, tells you these discussions haven't entirely disappeared from the rooms where decisions get made. And when you zoom out and look at both of these stories side by side, I think what you're really seeing is a franchise standing at a genuine crossroads. Every major decision the Browns make in the next several months is going to carry weight. The Ayuk question is about whether Cleveland is willing to absorb risk in pursuit of a weapon that could change the offense overnight. The Garrett question is about whether this front office is truly committed to the long-term vision they've been constructing or whether the right offer could redirect everything. Neither question has an easy answer. Neither decision is risk-free. And that's exactly why Browns fans are paying attention to every word, every report, and every rumor that comes out of that building right now. If you want to stay ahead of every move this franchise makes this offseason, hit that subscribe button on Browns Breakout right now and drop a like on this video. It takes 2 seconds, and it helps more than you know. Then get down to the comments and tell me where you stand. Do you pull the trigger on Brandon Ayuk if the price is right? And is there a trade package anywhere in this league that would make you consider moving Myles Garrett? I want to hear the real takes. Let's talk about it.